Okay, and we're live.
Hello.
Welcome everyone to our Power Hour. Today, a very special day where we have our fantastic instructor with us, the Pilates instructor, should I say, Breach. Breach, thank you so much for joining me today. It's an amazing privilege to have you here. And if you don't mind, I might pick your brain for some tips and questions that I know that our audience have for you.
Okay, lovely. Hi, everybody, and thanks, Monica, for inviting me for the Perfect Balance Live half an hour chat on Pilates. And I too am privileged to be
here. Absolutely. Breach, just before we start, I think it's worth talking a little bit about how did the idea of Pilates started? What's the origin of Pilates as the way of exercising? Can you tell us a little bit more about how it started?
Okay, well, Pilates was invented by German-born Joseph Pilates, and it was originally called Contrology, which means control. And we do talk a lot about control in Pilates, controlling the movements. It's made up of 44 specific exercises designed to correct body alignment, enhance flexibility, mobility, and build strength. So it can be mat-based or performed on an apparatus called a reformer, which again was originally designed by Joseph Pilates. It's a fantastic form of exercise for anyone to practice, really, from lots of different populations, from young children, teenagers, older population, fantastic for rehab. And it's just an all-round brilliant exercise. Anyone can do it, like I said, from athletes to any lay person.
And I think that's such an important point that you're making. And I myself don't want to say too much about my personal way of living, but I absolutely love Pilates. And even though I'm a trainer, I'm a personal trainer by trade, I swear by the benefits of Pilates, which I think give you something so unique in your training that pretty much it's just Pilates that can give you that control, that awareness, that proprioception that's being improved through that mind and body connection. It is truly incredible. And I imagine that a lot of people watching us right now, due to the nature of the clinic that we work for, are probably either struggling with some form of injuries or maybe they have dealt with injuries in the past. So if you can explain us, how does Pilates sit in the rehabilitation process for the clients? You know, if I was to say coming back from injury of my ankle, you know, how can I use Pilates to really make sure that I fully recover so I don't get injured again?
Well, I mean, it's really beneficial to people recovering from an injury. So perhaps they've been seeing a physio or an osteopath and they've had their course of treatment with them, and they have suggested now perhaps it would be nice for you and beneficial for you to go on to a maintenance program where you can prevent this happening again. You're going to work on your strength, your balance, particularly if it's referring to an ankle injury. Balance is something we work on a lot in Pilates, especially for older population. When they reach a certain age, they get that fear of falling over. So we usually, you know, start a class with some balance work, finish a class with some balance work, and incorporate it into the whole class. And it's a big part of Pilates, actually, balance. So in terms of recovering from an injury, Pilates is an excellent way for somebody to get back into their physical health, because it's gentle. It can be as therapeutic or as challenging if you want it to be. So if you've had an injury and you're a little bit worried about physical activity, getting back into physical activity because you're afraid of injuring yourself again, and there's some sort of psychosocial factors around that, perhaps the fear of movement, and this is where we come in with Pilates, because it is a nice gentle way of starting off. And like I said, building on that. So I always describe it as building blocks. So we start off with the very basics, and we start building blocks up to, you know, the way the client wants to feel as they go through the process. So they don't want to feel too pressured to go into something, and they gradually see that improvement in their confidence, in their flexibility, their strength starts to build up, and eventually their stamina. And you usually find if somebody started on a course Pilates and they've had a break for a while, they really, really miss it. So you often find people come back to it time and time again. And I know myself personally, that's how I ended up training to be a Pilates instructor, because I enjoyed it so much myself, and I practiced it for 10 years. And when I had some time away from it, I missed it so much. So it's such a beneficial all-round exercise. Again, like I said, it can be as therapeutic or as challenging as you want, because it can actually be very challenging as well. Because we cover, we start off, teaching people things like very basics, which there are actually 6 fundamentals in Pilates. And we start off with 3 of those, which are the basics, which we call the ABCs: the alignment, the breathing, and the centering. So for somebody brand new to Pilates who's never tried it before, a little bit apprehensive about what they're going to get from it, we would start off teaching them those 3 basic fundamentals, and from there progress into, a lot more challenging exercises.
And I imagine that if anyone is listening to us right now and never tried Pilates in their life, they may hear, fundamentals, they may hear, where do I start? Is there a benefit for them to seek one-on-one attention for Pilates? Because I think not many people connect Pilates with obviously a one-to-one training, which is pretty much like personal training, absolutely a really beneficial way of approaching one's progress. So would you advise people to always start with one-to-one, or where does the one-to-one session sit in the client's journey, and who does it benefit most?
Yes, well, one-to-one is extremely beneficial for people completely new to Pilates, because this is where we give them that obviously individual attention, and we start teaching them the fundamentals. And, just a few sessions to get them understanding what they want to get out of the class, what they need to understand before they go into a class, which is really important. They need to, understand their alignment, their breathing, and their centering. So those would be the 3 things that we would teach them on a one-to-one basis. We would also go through a series of assessment exercises, so getting them to perform some of the exercises so they can see what it feels like in their body. And, those very simple, basic assessment exercises in themselves can be quite challenging for some people. But they have got the confidence that there is a hands-on instructor there to perhaps tactile cue them into position if they need to, demonstrate the exercises, and they have the full focus and attention of the instructor, as opposed to going into a class where some people might feel a little bit intimidated, feel pressured to keep it up with the class. And that's not really what you want to introduce somebody to when they're new to Pilates. So I would always suggest we would start off on maybe 2 or 3 one-to-one sessions, and just get them used to what they need to understand. And that gives them a lot of confidence then to go into the class feeling that, well, yes, I should be doing this. I know my start positions. I understand my neutral pelvis and spine, all those basics that we like to teach them.
The infamous neutral pelvis. Absolutely. I think it will be wrong on us not to touch on obviously a current climate and the fact that, your classes have moved online, and I know the feedback from people joining them has been brilliant. And I think very often people are amazed at how much you can do from the comfort of your own home. And again, especially if you're used to joining classes or training in person for years. I think moving to Zoom originally into the online classes were such a huge jump. So how do you as an instructor make sure that there's equal amount of attention and quality given to the clients online as it is in person?
Well, if for instance, clients who were practicing Pilates before we went on to online classes, then it's pretty simple, because all we need to remind them of their setup, make sure they've got some quiet time for themselves, they've got enough room to move their arms and their legs, and that we can see them clearly, the instructor can see them clearly, and that they, more importantly, can see us as well. And we obviously start off the class making sure all those aspects are correct before we go into doing the exercises, and people are happy with their setup, and the instructors and the clients can see each other, quite clearly. And then it's just a matter of talking them through the exercises, and just bearing in mind the one big thing that's missing out of online classes is the tactile cueing. So not being there to get down on your knees and be able to help somebody into a neutral position if they're not sure how to find their neutral position. So again, if we were starting off with somebody new, we would obviously have seen them on a one-to-one basis before that, and making sure that they understood all that before they joined even an online class. Once they're in the online class, it's then a matter of just listening to the instructor's cues, making sure they're very clear, they understand it. From an instructor point of view, you would need to make sure that you're watching, say, maybe 5 or 6 people on the screen at the same time, making sure that they're all singing from the same hymn sheet, basically. They're all in the correct start position, and then you just get them to start the class. And once the class is nice and flowing and everyone's happy with what they're doing, what they can see, what they can hear, it's very similar to, a class in the clinic, for instance, where the class is nice and flowing, everyone is getting what they want out of the class, and they're listening to the instructor for the next exercise. So not an awful lot of difference in that respect. What I would say is the setups need to be correct, and quite clear so that we can see them. And we just start off with a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes talking to the clients, making them feeling comfortable, getting them focused, making sure that this hour is just for them and they're completely switching off from whatever's going on in their day. And then just finishing off with a little chat at the end to make sure they enjoyed the class. Was there anything they would like to have done better? How did they feel at the end of the class? So just making it as interactive as possible, really.
Yeah, I can imagine that a lot of people probably enjoy the comfort of their own home when they do that. There is that element of safety, isn't it, when you're doing something at your home? And I get that a lot of feedback from my clients that I teach online, that there is the element of comfort, and the stress of novelty around them is taken away. So I think a lot of people actually respond surprisingly well to being in their home environment, because that safety is just there, right? So I think you're right. The setup is important, the quiet corner for yourself, the right mindset, but the element of familiarity is already there. So I imagine that might be actually quite beneficial to do it from the comfort of your own home.
Yes, definitely. I think it is very beneficial, and it's also to have the added element of not having to rush to a class. Very often people rush into a class and they're quite stressed, maybe, and they've had a bit more time to prepare, to wind down, and have that time to themselves. So they're not stuck in traffic to get to a class, So there's all that's been taken away for them, which adds to their hour of value, basically.
Absolutely. I think I'm not going to take away all the other aspects of our talk today, but I was particularly excited to have you today on our chat. And the reason behind that is that you are now expanding your class timetable, and you're adding an incredibly important class, which is the Healthy Back Pilates class. So tell me a little bit more about that. How is the Healthy Back different to the regular Pilates? What is different? What's similar? And who would benefit from that?
Okay, so the Healthy Back class is a class that we run at the clinic, where we specifically teach clients with perhaps lower back pain, non-mechanical lower back pain. So they may, like I mentioned before, have seen a physio or an osteopath at the clinic with some back pain, and it's nothing too serious. they just have some lower back pain. So they've gone through that whole assessment period with a physio or an osteopath, and we've sort of eliminated any seriousness around the lower back pain. Any red flags have been eliminated, and they've suggested maybe starting a program of Pilates would be really beneficial for them. So even at that stage, we wouldn't throw them into a big class or anything like that. We would still suggest they start off with a one-to-one, and we would just go through a series of assessment exercises with them, see what they're able to do, what sort of exercises bring on discomfort or pain. So we would go through all that with them on a one-to-one basis, and then we would start to sort of work on all the different planes of movement with the exercises: flexion, extension, lateral flexion, rotation, all those elements that are so important for spinal health in terms of Pilates. Teaching them their neutral pelvis and spine, which is very important, teaching them their start positions, and giving them that confidence to start moving again. And eventually, once they've got that confidence back and they've done an exercise and they said, oh, that was fine, I didn't feel anything, that was really, it was lovely actually to feel everything flowing nice and smoothly again, and I had no restrictions doing that. And that's at that point where we try to progress them on a little bit more, and eventually, within a few weeks they find that they're so much capable of doing so much more, and in the meantime they've started to build up their core strength to protect any future problems with their lower back, and they have understood a lot about the exercises. And also we would give them some homework to do in between the classes, so maybe give them some printouts and illustrations of the exercises we've gone through with them, so they can start practicing at home as well.
And I think that's a very important part of it, isn't it? Pilates teaches you a lot of great habits and a lot of ways of combating the bad habits, which you can then take outside the session. So it goes way beyond the hour that they spend with yourself or another Pilates instructor, but it goes really into their day-to-day life, which again is such a crucial part. And if we just pay attention to changing those habits, we can make all the difference to the health of our backs and our overall health. So I think this is definitely the message that I think is incredibly important to put out there, is that Pilates is not only a great exercise, but it's actually a lifetime of great habits that you take out of the class with you, and you can prevent a lot of discomfort and pain later on in life. And I think it's important as well to add that it is definitely not exclusive to older people, because I know that you yourself work with a lot of different people from a lot of different ages and backgrounds. And most importantly, you actually run a corporate wellness class, don't you? So you work with companies on how to really help their employees, especially, in the lockdown, but also beyond the lockdown. Anyone who sits at the desk, whether that's in the office or at home for long hours every day, you're actually there helping big teams and improving their well-being, which I think is incredible. And another thing I actually wanted to say is that something that I think has been an incredible addition to the Pilates timetable is your Pilates at desk. So another thing that you probably would find with people would, be the excuse of not having time, not being able to take an hour for themselves, or literally just being glued to their desk. And here you are with a whole set of exercises that you can do literally just sat on the desk.
Absolutely, yes. They are very, very popular, those classes, throughout the lockdown. Obviously, so many more people working from home, and they're just a half an hour class that we do once a week, and they've been very popular with lots of people just switching off from their computer, working on that long report they've been working on, maybe from 6 o'clock in the morning for some people, and we get to about 10:30 on a Wednesday, and they know they're going to switch off completely, do some exercises, particularly geared around posture. and talking to them about what they need to be doing throughout the day, and not just doing that half an hour class once a week, taking some of those exercises away with them and maybe stopping from what they're doing every 20 to 40 minutes, and just, they don't have to do the whole half an hour class. They can just pick a few of those, maybe shoulder exercises we've gone through with them, and perform those exercises. As soon as they start to feel some tightness coming into the shoulder, they might feel a headache coming on, they might start to get some lower back pain from sitting in the same position on the chair. So they can then sort of refer back to what they did yesterday in the class and come away from that class feeling, I really feel, nice and relaxed and loose. There's no more tension in the shoulders, and just be consistent with those exercises. And this is where I think these classes are so beneficial to people working from home at the moment.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And the feedback that we're getting so far from people has been nothing but incredible. And I know first-handedly that you change the lives of many people that were otherwise struggling a lot, especially in a lockdown where they couldn't see the physiotherapist or they couldn't go for a sports massage. And actually, they discover that there's so many things that they can do, by healing their own selves and by changing little things, bringing their body back in balance. So I think on behalf of all of those people, we can only thank you for really turning some lives around there.
Yes, indeed. It's quite rewarding in that respect, because being a Pilates instructor, it's very rewarding to feel that people have gone away from a class feeling so much better about themselves, and they want to come back for more, because it's given them that feel good feeling when they've left the class, and not just when they've left the class. It goes on for a long time afterwards, and they as soon as they start losing that benefit, they want to come back again. So that's the thing about Pilates, I think, very much about being consistent with it, and when you do stop doing it, your body really feels it. It really suffers. So you just think, well, what's made me feel good? Oh yes, I need to get back into Pilates. That's the only thing that makes me feel good about, whatever lower back pain I've had, whatever aches and pains I've had in my shoulders. I know that when I do Pilates, it definitely relieves that. So we get people coming back time and time again to do those exercises. And like you said, corporate companies at the moment, I think it's so beneficial to their well-being, not just physically, mentally as well. And Pilates is very much about the mind and body. And this is where we talk a lot about the breathing aspect in Pilates, getting them to focus, getting them to, switch off completely and just think about everything they're doing is good for their body, for their alignment, their core strength again, and their balance, and all the elements that Pilates we bring into Pilates. So yes, I think more corporate companies should sort of take it on board for their staff, their employees, as a health and well-being, part of their job, basically. I think it's very, very, and for them as well, it's going to be their staff are going to be so much more productive, back into their job and just feeling good about themselves and being productive for the rest of the time.
Absolutely. And that's all you can ask for. The last thing, especially now, is people going on a leave or being in discomfort, because that impacts everyone's life massively. So if we can just take that and get people comfortable and calmer, I think that's a huge difference that it will make to a lot of people out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's incredible. Briege, thank you so much for joining me today. I think I'm sure that's not the last time we speak and spread the word about Pilates, but I think especially now where we in the clinic see so many people that have been struggling for so many weeks of the lockdown in such discomfort, and I know how much joy it brings them to discover the services that you do. So I want everyone who listens to us to really spread the word and really get excited about what's about to come in here, because I think this is just the beginning of of your Pilates world domination.
Yeah, of course, because we have a fantastic timetable now at the clinic. There's just something for everyone on the timetable. So even if you haven't got an hour to spare, perhaps just go online and have a look, and just take something from that timetable for half an hour, and it's still going to be so beneficial to your working life and your health and well-being. And then maybe when you've got a little bit more time, give yourself the luxury of having an hour to do a full hour's class again, and you're going to build on so many different aspects in the class as well.
Absolutely. And I think this is it. We're gonna be joined by other Pilates instructors in the upcoming weeks. So we'll be talking a little bit more about all the different classes that we have on the timetable. But it's been such an amazing privilege to have you here today, Brigitte. Thank you so much. If anyone listening to us has any questions for Brigitte or myself, please feel free to leave that in the comment section. We'll get back to you as soon as that reaches us. And otherwise, Brigitte, how do we find your classes? Do we go online?
Yes, if you go on to www.perfectbalanceclinic.com, and there is a fantastic, like I said, timetable there made up of all different classes for Pilates for everyone, basically. So just go online, have a look. There's something there for you, and just book in at the clinic, and we will then send you out a login, and we'll hopefully meet you in a Zoom class online at some point.
Absolutely. And to anyone watching, guys, just to sum it up, the message that we're trying to send today is that there is a Pilates function and benefit for everyone, really, but especially if you're struggling with any postural issues, if you're struggling with pains and aches that otherwise just due to the poor posture or long hours spent at the desk, or if you just simply want to progress safely from that rehabilitation of the injury that you had, Pilates is really there for you, and it can transform your life beyond the hour that you do it for with the instructor. It can generally have a full-blown effect on your life that you probably don't know yet. So I think the best thing to do is discover it for yourself. Thank you so much, Brigitte, and I am looking forward to having you over here again.
Thank you very much, Monica.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.